So I wanted to start this with some sad news, unfortunately. And if you're in the silver chat, then you already saw this. But we did have an ambassador who passed away from an illness. And so we just wanted to say our thoughts and prayers are with them. It was Astrid, if you all know her. I know Clayton and Dr. Ram are working on reaching out to her family. But we're just sending up prayers and our sympathy and thoughts to her family. And so I wanted to start off with that. It was really sad for us all to hear. There's Clayton. Clayton, I was just telling everybody about Astrid and that our thoughts and prayers are with her family and her friends. And it was really sad news to see. So thank you all for who reached out. Those of you who reached out to tell us, we're thankful for those who think to include us in that because we think so fondly of Astrid and it hit us hard. Clayton, I don't know if you had anything else to say.
Well, as you mentioned, we'll be coming out with some stuff and putting together some things for her boys, and um, yeah, our announcements. While it's sudden to a lot of people, was was not new to us. Christina had worked with Astrid on her journey for months now. So but hopefully it gives everyone an appreciation for the value of the gifts you're given, because sometimes the time that you think you're allocated is a lot shorter than you might expect. And we should all learn to value it as much as we can in those relationships around you. Sometimes you don't know the struggles that each individual is going on that they don't talk about. Right. And I think that's an important piece of actually having community and connecting with people, because
I
it
would,
pays dividends.
I'm gonna ruin one of Dylan's traditions or things he does, but I do think it's important. But Dylan ends any calls he has with his friends by saying "I love you." Um,
Certain friends, people with mutual respect, I make sure they hang up with the phone and say, I love you and I love you back. Because you
um,
never know when the last time you're going to see them is. Okay.
um, thanks, Dill. But
Mhm.
just to echo that, Dylan and I have had some friends and accidents happen in our life, and I do echo what Clayton says. It is just great to actually share appreciation with those in your life because you never know what could happen. So, um,
The world is really random. You can never predict anything, so might as well make the most of what you can do with the people you love.
exactly. A few housekeeping things before we jump into the call today. We did have some very successful sales from the Ella Pure sale to the surprise sale that Clayton decided to do the day
Last
before
minute.
4th of July, which
It
helped us.
wasn't mine. There was other people that had a part in that.
But Clayton loves to keep IT and operations on their toes. But there was a Bill and Coo and Clean Spirits sale. And so we wanted to do a little contest, I guess. And Dylan is going to fact check this as the call goes on. Thank you for volunteering, Dylan.
Woo.
But if anybody signed up a new customer from either the Ella Pure discount code on the RPS day or from the Bill and Coo slash Clean Spirits 4th of July sale, if you could private message Dylan their name, he is going to pick one or two winners to give them a little surprise at the end of the call. So if
Yeah.
anybody here was able to get a new customer from those sales, we love to see that. So please private message Dylan.
And private messages in the Zoom chat here. Don't send me like a
Yeah.
WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Um, Also, that's what I'm talking about. When we started the call, we're going to try to make these calls a lot more fun and engaging, but also beneficial to our community because we're really trying to be closer to the community, but make it fun for you to join these calls because these are very informative and they should be fun.
They should.
Clayton, with you on here, they're always fun.
Okay. Well, there we go. I identify as wanting to have fun.
Uh-huh. I would agree with that. Few other updates. For those that have not been attending country calls when we have them, we have been passing out the offer that if you are able to get your team together, a community of potential customers, and are able to get 15 to 20 people on a call, please reach out to Dylan or I, Marty, Clayton. Clayton might not always be able to attend it, but we would be happy to attend the call and be a presence from HQ if you're able to get a call together. Like I said, with over 15 or 20 people, um, we could come on, talk for 5 to 10 minutes, or we could just listen and be part of it. But we would love to help ambassadors grow by having HQ be present when you all need us. So just repassing on that offer. If you've been on country calls, you probably have heard me say this for the last 3 months. So I am apologize for repeating myself.
But it's kind of important to be repeated.
Yeah.
Me help you.
That's all I have as housekeeping. Dylan, Clayton, do you have anything before we jump in?
No, let's just be compliant.
Let's get going.
Oh,
So one of the things Clayton and Christina, and at the request of kind of leaders throughout the Root community, had asked us to do is to do a once every 6 months a compliance and kind of guideline call that goes over the importance of our guidelines and compliance, but also tells you all and trains you all how you can grow and post without the risk of breaking those guidelines that are in place. And so that's going to be the call today. The first half is us going to be going over what those guidelines look like and some features we've added to help you all. And then the Nurse Christy, if you could private message Dylan their name, he can look them up. The second part of the call is going to be Clayton, and he will be, well, we'll all do it, but mostly Clayton talking about fun ways and easy ways to sell as an ambassador where compliance doesn't have to be as much of an issue. And so we're going to show you what those guidelines are, what the company's doing. Second part is Clayton going to be giving you his tips and tricks.
oh,
Clayton's tips and tricks. That's going to be our new segments on ambassador calls. Let me share my screen.
come up with that, or did someone else come up with that? I kind of like
No.
this.
I did. Look, I'm growing in my marketing
Creativity.
skills.
He's putting the tutorial side down.
So we're going to start off with a new feature that we've added on HQ. One of the most common things that we run into with compliance issues nowadays are ambassadors sharing material that might not be compliant in their country. And so I don't know if people have known this, but we actually have our website set up so that if you are on the EU website, if you're on the DE website, what is on the product pages has been approved by legal experts in those countries to be okay to say. And so one of the first things we always tell people if they are worried about compliance is use the website that is closest to your area. And so if you are in France, you should use the French website. If you are in Germany, you can use the German, or if you want to have it in English, you can use the EU website. But that will make sure the information you're using is okay to say in that country. Something that we've added to the website recently is for only new customers. Okay. So this is only on new customers that go to the US site.
Duquesne, what kind of customers?
New customers.
So,
So-
you already have an account? Are you going to see this?
No, I am in incognito right now. So that's why this shows up for me. But if you have an account, this will not be popping up for you.
But if I'm an ambassador, if I'm on incognito, this might.
Exactly. This might pop up for you.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Where do you see this now?
So this will pop up for brand new people who go to the US website. If you send people to the German site, the EU site, the French site, this will not pop up. It only shows up for new customers on the US site. What this does is it will have you pick the area that you are located in, And when you do that, it will send you to the appropriate website. And so if I pick Europe,
Wait, it goes to the European site though.
exactly. And so this is the tool we're doing to protect people from sending people to the incorrect website if you are worried about compliance issues. Okay. Now, again, this only applies to those who go to the US website, because what we have found is that when people are going straight to the DE site or the EU website, they're not worried about compliance issues. This only happens for when people are in Europe and they accidentally send people to the US website. So that is the first thing that we have added to the website. And the most important thing when it comes to compliance is that the appropriate website will have your region's compliant information. So I'm going to stop here and do a quick Q&A.
Can I say
Why?
add something in there?
Also log into my account. But yes, go, Dylan.
All right. So one of the reasons we want to bring this up is because one, tax issues, but the biggest thing is that we overheard that some European ambassadors are having trouble signing people up because they send them to the US website. So they think they're going to have to pay a lot of money for shipping and handling to get across country. So when you send them to the US website as a new customer, I'm thinking, oh man, my order is going to cost me a ton of money for shipping. When in fact, that's not true. So if you send them to the correct website and they can see that they're purchasing from a European site, the DE site, French, whatever it might be, they're trusting it more because we are an international company. And it does scare some people away when they think they have to get a shipping from the US and they might lose their package in transit or pay too much money. So that's one of the biggest reasons we've seen to really promote your own country. Sorry, I want to clarify that.
Thanks, Dylan.
Any questions on the new pop-up, why it's important to go to the correct website, anything like that?
Great idea.
Okay.
I'll-
Thank you, Jennifer.
I thought, well, I will put it in the chat, but no, I'll engage. There we go. I
Thank
think
you.
it's a good idea.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. IT worked hard on it. Clayton has mentioned this a couple times, but we are actually working on some whole website updates that will take a lot longer. And so later on, we might have a better solution. But for now, we think it will help a lot of people. And also, if you're somebody who is a little bit more worried about rule following, similar to myself and my mother, then you'll probably appreciate this a lot.
Saw a message. Just let you know, if you are somehow signed in to another tab, and let's say one of your tabs is signed into the US page and you're trying to be on the DE page, if you keep going back and forth, it'll bring you back to the US page. So make sure you clear your cookies, your cache, and make sure when you're doing this, you're going in a new browser. Remember, it's a normal website, so it'll store your
You have to
history.
empty your wallet to clear your cache. How do you do that?
So when you clear your cache, what you do is you find my private email and you type it into the wallet transfer, and you have to clear it out. Yes, that's what clearing your cache is.
Okay.
I don't know if jokes are always the best when it comes to translations.
Okay, that was a joke. Roland, make sure you guys translate that. Don't listen to me.
Jennifer, I see your hand.
I did have a question. I had to use my iMac for the first time, and I believe that pop-up came up on my iMac, where normally I do everything on my iPhone, so or my iPad. But I had an idea. I had to use the desktop, but I do believe that pop-up came up. Is it due to the IP address or
No,
Yeah.
It's-
Yes.
okay?
Yeah, because that device has never signed in with an account before, so it has no basically data or cookies saved that you are an active customer. So
That makes sense
that
now.
should be the only time it pops up. If you ever reset your device completely, the same thing will also happen because your device doesn't have any memory of you being a root customer or ambassador.
That's perfect because we just got the iMac recently because one went kaput. So, okay, that makes total sense. Thank you.
Perfect. So that was the first thing that we wanted to bring to your attention. Honestly, that solves 80% of any compliance that might come up because if you're using the correct website, you don't have to worry about it. We do have another tool that we wanted to show you all, and it is in your back office under Documents. If you go to the very bottom, it says Miscellaneous and Ad Guidelines. If you scroll down, I add guidelines, and you can pick your language. So what this is, it is a quick kind of 5 points on how to properly advertise as a root ambassador to avoid any issues. And so this is a useful tool to use as well if you are worried about, how to advertise correctly or any of that. A lot of you all are perfect at advertising, have no issues, know how to talk about it. So you all can kind of ignore this or only look at it when you need. But for those that don't know about this, it's very useful. And so I know this is in English. You can pull it up in your language, but I'll quickly summarize parts of it. The very first thing is that to not impersonate the corporate root website or a corporate root employee. And so what that means is you are able to get a lot more flexibility by saying you are a root ambassador, but not that you work at Root Corporate or that you are Root itself. The reason for that is that companies have a lot stricter guidelines than an ambassador would or an affiliate would. So that is always a helpful thing. The moment you say you are, the Root brand's chief of staff or chief marketing officer or director of operations, whatever it is, you have a lot stricter guidelines.
Trust me, I tried doing that once and it did not work for me. That was a joke, 'cause I'm in operations. Okay.
Another thing to avoid is making false claims, but also avoiding claims in general of what products do is a great rule to follow. We've had several calls on this, but the best way to talk about products is talk about your own personal experience or talk about how the ingredients work to help you.
And something with what Duquesne mentioned to begin this whole call, if you're in Germany, a smart way to understand what you can say about claims is if you say something that's already stated on the PDP, meaning the product page, it'll be fine. Because as he mentioned before, we get with lawyers to make sure that we are compliant in each individual country so that we're fine. Now, if you're someone in Germany, you start copying and pasting our US website, it'll be out of compliance. So use your own statements, not making claims, or use our statements that we've already made and had made sure that they're legal.
I am not saying this to scare anybody, but I like to share the full story with people. About 6 months ago, we had somebody reach out who I believe was in Austria, maybe Poland, but they had posted flyers around and they had used information from the US website. And one of the things about zero in is something that in the US we're allowed to say, but in Austria or Poland, they are not able to say that. And so at all these stores, they had people take down their signs because a compliance officer went around and took down all their signs that said that, which I'm sure was a lot of work for them. And all it was like 3 words about zero in that wasn't supposed to be said. But if they had used the EU website and used that information, they wouldn't have had that issue at all. So this is a great way just to protect your hard work, make it easier for you. We are doing a lot of the compliance work by getting information approved and putting it on the EU website. So again, if you are worried about that, if you are putting up posters somewhere, that is a great guideline to use. The last thing to focus on is that every country has its own specific guidelines. We do our best to get approval in the US, in Germany, and then our larger countries. But if you are somebody who is in a country that isn't as populated or as large, and you have specific rules or guidelines that you know are different, always make sure to follow those. We have a large legal team in the EU that we do our best to be compliant in as many countries as possible. But if you know that your specific country is somewhere where you can't say um, turmeric helps with anti-inflammation, which, in the US and Germany and a lot of other countries is perfectly fine to say because it's proven. But if your country for some reason says you can't say that, you need to follow your local guidelines over what we say. We do our very best. I would say we're 98% better than any other company out there because we have all these legal advisors. But there's always an exception. And so I spent a summer in Prague, Czech Republic. So I'm going to use them as an example. If you are in the Czech Republic and you know there's a specific law that you need to follow that we don't know about, always follow that law. Don't say Root Brand said I didn't have to do that because that is not true. I'm partly just saying this for legal reasons, but it is important to know that. The moment you are notified of, hey, in this country you can't do that, you do need to follow those guidelines and rules. So go ahead. I was done.
There's one more thing I want to add too, because something I want people to do more of, and it's doing landing pages when you're marketing the products. So I know quite a few ambassadors have gotten into making their own landing page, but Duquesne, can I share my screen real quick? All right. So one of the rules that was on that page is that you cannot mimic the Root brands and you cannot say what we say on our site. All that means is that if your landing page has the rootbrands.com, then you're mimicking our URL. So if you have a landing page that says health root tree or something like that, it's completely fine, but you just can't have this as yours. We have trademarks for our registered trademarks for the logo. The name can't be the same, but we do encourage everyone to promote landing pages, have URLs going to your links. One thing that you need to be careful of, all of your links are the rootbrands.com/your link. So if you do a landing page that's just your link to Google, it will be not compliant. So I hope that makes sense for everyone. If you make just a direct link to your username or to a product, it's not going to be compliant. You have to do it through a landing page that you created that does not have the rootbrands.com. Because I do think that landing pages are really good. And I've seen a lot of people doing really well with promoting those. Yes, Nurse Chrissy? Hold on, sure.
And just real quick, a lot of that is for your own protection. Because again, a major corporation has different guidelines than an ambassador. And so we don't want you all to have to take on the risk of what Root Brands does by trying to claim our name. Because the moment you do that, you are opening yourself up to more potential issues versus us as the company. We expect that part of owning a business is you're accepting that chance. Sorry,
One biggest thing, think about like if you're in Germany and you have a landing page and it starts going to other countries, you are now liable to those other countries' compliances. But yeah, Nurse Chrissy, go ahead.
So is a Linktree considered the same as a landing page?
No. So I'm talking about only if it appears on an SEO type thing like Google,
Okay.
or if you're on YouTube and you completely say the rootbrands.com. A Linktree is perfectly fine because you're using your direct link on, let's say, your Instagram. That's not the same thing because it links back to our website. When there's a middle website between your link and the Root Brands, that middle website is your landing page. And that's the one that we want to make sure you're compliant with.
A quick rule of thumb, if you're not making your own website and creating and having to buy your own URL, you're fine. You don't need to worry about this. This is only for people who are website builders.
Yep. And that everything you're doing right now with Nurse Chrissy is completely fine. I can promise you that.
No, Daniela, we did not. If you don't use a landing page, ignore this. You do not have to make a landing page. We do have some ambassadors who are marketing SEO experts who make landing pages. We're just saying if you do that, you open yourself up to more compliance. If you're just using links, ignore everything.
Yep. The whole point of Root is links are completely compliant.
Yeah.
Some people just take it a step further. We'll drop what I just said and go to Jennifer.
You guys just answered my question because all I am doing on my Instagram and Facebook is just the rootbrands.com / and then my Simply Karen by JLG. So I'm fine with that because I don't have a landing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
trust me, if what I just said had meant nothing to you, it means it means nothing to you. But there's certain people on this call I know are doing SEO marketing for their own landing pages, which is amazing. But if that does not make any sense to you, trust me, there's a reason it doesn't.
Okay, perfect. Thank you kindly.
Clayton
you.
created the system to use links and QR codes so that people didn't have to worry about making their own sites. And so by using the system we have with links and QR codes, it really makes it a lot easier from a compliance and guideline standpoint for ambassadors. Some companies out there make people create their own sites and websites, and we didn't want to do that because that is tougher for people. But some people still do that and are great at it. I've seen some of Claire's websites before, and they're amazing. But if you don't make websites, you don't have to worry about it.
See, this might be a good transition to showing referral links and how to change USDE. So I can
Yeah.
do that too.
Yeah. So Dylan has one more compliance thing. Really, it's just a tip that is useful for EU ambassadors. And then Clayton's going to give you his tips and tricks.
Perfect. All right. So this kind of goes back to what we're talking about. Please ignore all the tabs up top. I actually cleaned out a lot of them today, but it looks embarrassing. But so when you share products or share carts, the first thing you're allowed to do is pick the site you are going to use. So if you live in DE or live in Germany, I mean, you'll pick DE. And that means from now on, whatever product you click, the link will have the DE in there. So if you're trying to share community with that community or grow your community in Germany, that's how you do that. So if you're going to make a Facebook post or Instagram post and you want to target Slovenia, whatever it might be, you can change the country code here. But if you're in Europe and you never sell to the US, just clicking US is not going to help because that's going to send all of your customers to the US site first.
But Dylan,
goes back
are
to
you
the-
saying that I could be in Europe and I could actually create content and marketing specific in the US with a US code that I could send to people in the US? Say, if you're American and you work for a company, you should use this link.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, hamburger boy, US man, gun holder. No, probably not. Yeah, but no, so you can change what location you're in and you can target people and you can help with that. That was a fun one, I thought.
It was very American.
But so the biggest thing is make sure that you're being compliant with how you're doing this. Because if you send someone to the US website and you're in Germany, all the compliance is going to be our US compliance. I just want to make sure that's and once again, you can do it with this one too. You can change whatever you want to. I'm done with the jokes too.
I love your
Were you?
jokes. They just translate funny sometimes because you're a funny speaker.
Yeah, American.
Right. Hey,
So the rest of this time is going to be Clayton giving his tips and tricks on if you are somebody who is worried about compliance or following guidelines, and that is an emphasis for you. Clayton has the tips and tricks for how to avoid that or how to mitigate the risk as much as possible. So Clayton, I am handing it over to you, and I know you have two products that you're going to talk about at first and then have a couple other things.
you know what? It's very important as we translate that we put the correct emphasis on the correct syllable. Have fun with that, Roland. So should we start with travel? Duquesne, which ones were we going to go over? Here's the thing from a compliance standpoint.
You were going to talk about how travel and coffee don't have any compliance issues.
True, I can make a compliance issue out of both of them.
Well, that's true.
I can get banned on TikTok on talking about these. But for the first part, as we've had a lot of people ask about opening other countries, I'm going to kind of backdoor this compliance issue. So Root Travel is one, outstanding. I'm actually going to book another trip here in a second. Actually, maybe we could, can I share my screen?
Well, you can if Dylan assigns you. I'm giving you teacher training, Clayton. I want you to explain why route travel is. I want you to attach this back to compliance so
Yep.
people
We're gonna-
understand why you're saying this.
We're going to hit on the compliance standpoint. It's really hard to make false claims about saving money on travel and getting rewarded for it, right? The same thing for coffee. You really can't go wrong with saying, okay, this is the best coffee. Now, the important part that we've been able to do with Rom Roast is the fact that it's zoted, right? It is the only coffee in the world that is zoted. Now, that term is trademarked. Christina holds the trademark on the term zoted, which you guys all can use because you're promoting the brand. What is zoted? It's detox backwards. So in Europe, you can't use the term detox. They don't like it when you talk about the real problem. So, one, you can use the term zoted because we control that term. That's our term. And I was really disappointed in it because Christina's the one that came up with the name. Usually, Duquesne and I are the creatives in the household. Not this time. So, when talking about compliance, one, it's the only coffee in the world that is zoted, and that's the reason it has its cup scores. So it's clean, it's mycotoxin free, all these things you can talk about. But the zoted process is the differentiator. It is not detoxed or detoxifying coffee. It is zoted. And you have to remember, language when it comes to claims is everything. I'm one that's quite adept at using words that offend people without actually saying anything offensive. So when it comes to compliance and conversations, if you're putting stuff on social media or you're making ads, you have, especially in Europe, but I'll apply this into the United States as well, even though our compliance environment is apparently lax. You cannot talk about disease-specific states, but you can reference the causes of those diseases or health issues and how you can address or cure the causes, and not treating a specific issue, but talking about what's causing them. No, the nice part is we know what the causes are. There is one primary cause to virtually every chronic degenerative disease. That would be mercury. And I don't know if we've shared this yet. I'll make sure we put this out for everybody. We'll put it out in an email with an article this week. But the World Health Organization, the organization that many people don't like and that the government loves, published this in 1976. So take it as it is. It's fact. Right. So the key in this is making sure that you're talking about the subjects that you want to hit on, but doing so in a way that's not going to bring any scrutiny to you for making any aspect of a claim to treat any disease, disorder, dysfunction, anything, regardless of what country you're in. And honestly, if you understand everything that we're about, just like in the Matrix, right, which is a great lesson for a lot of people to take many lessons from, there is no spoon, right? So when you look at a diagnosis, if you're talking to me and we're talking personally, or if I'm talking publicly, I don't recognize diagnoses because they don't really exist. What you have are a bunch of symptoms that have underlying causes that some people are going to diagnose you as so they can prescribe accordingly. But really, you just have a bunch of symptoms based on you being completely toxic and screwed up. That's what we want to talk about.
Can I give
These
an
are the things you
example?
guys should be talking about. What was that, Duquesne?
Can I give an example that's nice and easy?
Yes.
So with coffee, one of the issues people don't drink coffee very often is they say it's acid reflux or coffee stomach, people will call it sometimes. I would never say Rom Roast fixes or cures acid reflux or coffee stomach. What I would say, hey, if you're struggling with the with coffee that has high acidity and upsets your stomach, I actually know a coffee that has been confirmed and tested for low acidity. Do you want to give it a try? I would
Yeah.
never, I don't mention acid reflux a single time. All I know is that their issue is their stomach is upset from acid. And I can say, I have a product that is low acidity.
And actually, here's another truth to that. Your stomach is actually not responding to the acidity, it's responding to the mold.
Yeah.
That's why you get sick.
But I
So-
don't even have to bring that up.
Yeah.
But
It's the
Duquesne,
truth.
couldn't I also say something that couldn't I share my personal life experiences? So couldn't I technically say Dylan Craven has not had acid reflux from coffee since Rom Roast was created?
Dylan Craven could say that.
I don't drink coffee, so it
Dylan
can't
I
be
would
wrong.
love to see you. Love to see you drink a cup of coffee, Dylan.
That's okay.
Actually, you know what? We need to do the coffee challenge in the morning to see how that treats Dylan and if that leads to different Snapchat.
That's not Dylan's issue. But Nurse Christy, I see your hand.
I'm just wondering, some of us have licenses and education that's allows for different things. Does that mean that we also should stay in the
So-
lane that Clayton just?
This goes back to if you have compliance or legal that outweighs what we're talking about, then ignore this. So if you are
I
a
can-
medical professional, Dylan's a personal trainer. He's able to say things I'm not able to say. But if you
So-
are just a normal ambassador, a salesperson, this is guidance for you. Dylan, I see you.
Well, and there's a big difference between personal clinical conversations and mass marketed
Yeah.
content.
That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say.
So if you're talking to someone, you can have a different conversation, especially if you're a professional. Publicly, you have to be careful of what you're putting out for content.
'Cause I'm in a situation where, to use Duquesne's example, where I will have somebody come directly to me and say, I deal with acid reflux on a daily and I'm tired of taking the I'm not going to mention the names, right? That are not over the counter. And so I am coaching them on things that they can do. So that is a one-on-one, not mass marketing, as you said. I just wanted to make sure that what you were saying applied appropriately to.
Yeah, because then
So-
if you're having a conversation with somebody, that's a completely different, especially from a
Yeah.
consult standpoint, right? But if you look at Christina's background, if you have a PhD actually in the subject matter of which you're discussing, because like a lot of people that have PhDs, it's like done in existential English. And they're like, well, I am a doctor, so I can talk about health subjects, or I took 3 classes in biology at chiropractic school, so I'm a human biologist. Those things don't apply. If you have, a doctorate level of education, you've earned the right to speak on some subjects, that pertain to your doctorate publicly. Christine is able to speak off label on pharmaceuticals and in other subjects because she has 6 doctorates and she's been in biotech and she's been trained at a level that none of us have ever seen on one, compliance of what she's able and capable of saying on stage, off stage, on camera, off camera, in person, in a group, right? So she was taught that from the time she was at Pfizer all the way through Alexion and Biogen IDEC and Bristol Myers Squibb and then everywhere else she's been. So there's the difference from a personal conversation or a consult and a professional conversation versus public. What we're talking about is public. right? Yes, Amy, you're correct. 3 PhDs, a PsyD, an EDD, an MD. 3 postdocs from Harvard, 2 from Cornell. Adjunct
I want to point out
professor.
too, though, she has all that,
Oh.
but she's still missing a certainty to not make unnecessary claims. She's probably the best in the office to make sure she's like following guidelines, and she
And
has the most ability to say things.
she makes sure that she's saying stuff publicly that meets
Yeah.
all of these. And this is one of the important things of understanding, like creating social media content. Every one of you can take all the videos or anything that especially comes from corporate and cut it up and share it and create all these little snippets that people use and that you can overlay stuff and have fun with, because everything that we're going to put out is compliant. And if you model what we're saying or what she's saying, you're probably in good shape.
So this is actually one of our last tips and tricks that we wanted to share. You might have noticed that there is a lot more content going out that are short clips of Clayton or Christina or even Dylan talking about products, ingredients, how the products work. And one of the reasons we did that is because you all will be able to basically take those videos and can, if this is something you're good at or want to do, we're not saying everyone has to do this, but if you are capable, you can create reaction videos to their videos and post it. The reason for this is if you are having Christina talk about it or Dylan talk about Crush, and you are reacting to it and saying, wow, that is so cool. Did you all know this? You are avoiding yourself posting and talking about it, and you're letting the experts talk about it. Dylan, I saw thoughts in your head.
Yeah, I thought of a fun way. If you ever heard the expression, it's from the horse's mouth. It's a what's it called? The first person example. So like the further away you get from the primary source, the less true it can be. So if Dr. Ram, the creator of the products, is saying something, you're more than welcome to. I think it's called splicing, when you put your where you like cut the video where she's talking above you and you're in part of it. There's cool things you can do with that. And we're trying to make it, as you mentioned, to where we're arming with as much as possible to give ambassadors videos to let them really promote the products in a legal way.
Yeah. And
oh, no, go ahead, Clayton. I was just going to say, after you're done, if we want to open up to questions, and then the last 5 minutes, I need just for a couple updates.
And the giveaway.
Yeah.
My tips and tricks are basically be creative and take the time to understand the tools that you have at your disposal. Right? I guarantee you, all of you, and this includes me, aren't truly effective at communicating key points of everything that you have at your disposal. Because if you did, you'd all be having a lot more customers personally, which means you'd be making a lot more money. And that's not a bad thing. Because the whole goal in this for everybody to, just so you guys all understand why I constructed this ecosystem the way that I did and why it rewards people for the behaviors that they create. Your sole purpose as an ambassador of a brand, but also the things that you do normally, is share with your friends. That's it. We just decided to reward you for it. Because if you think about this, if you turned your brain off from the aspect of thinking, oh, I'm getting paid to do this and I'm not worthy of receiving money because I don't value myself the way other people value me, that's your psychological work for the day. But if you just had something you liked, you pop a couple zero in and you felt amazing, you're going to tell your friends. You're like, oh my God, you got to try this. Here, try a couple of these. That's zero in marketing campaign. That's it. Oh my God, you got to try these things. Take 2, call me in 20 minutes. You do that a couple times a day and say, oh my, and then say, hey, hit me back in 20 minutes. Tell me how you feel. And then you're like, hey, I'm going to send you a link so you can order this. And you can go on the site like Dylan just did, and you create a zero in specific link to your code in the country that you're in and say, Here, get it right here. It's already in the shopping cart. This stuff's dope.
And hey, Clayton, in one more month, we're gonna have a pretty cool zero-in product with a lot less expensive, right?
Oh
That'd be
my
pretty to
Lord.
share. Okay, I'm gonna say something before we keep going with questions because I want to make sure everyone knows this. Right now, there's only one entry into the calls giveaway, so congrats, Nurse Chris. You're probably gonna win. Between now and before we end the call and announce the winners, I do want to have at least one or two more people. We're gonna give away a $50 coupon to help grow your community. So there'll be two winners. If not, there's gonna be only Nurse Christie. So join in now, private message me on the Zoom. I'd be very shocked to hear that no one else on this call was able to sign up one person over the weekend.
That's gonna hurt my feelings.
It's gonna hurt my feelings.
Well, and so that was, I had three things I wanted to go over. One, as ambassadors, we would love for you all to use these sales and these different opportunities to grow. We have done some trainings on this, but I just want to remind people the key part of growing as an ambassador and sharing these products is finding and reaching new people. And so when we do these sales or giveaways, these are the best times to sign up new customers. The Root ecosystem is so different from all these other MLM companies because it rewards those who are getting the customers and it rewards them fairly. But if you are somebody who hasn't signed up anybody new, or 2 levels down, you haven't had anybody new, and you are upset about your growth, that's because you're not using the system the way it was meant to. And so off on that topic, I know you all got a lot of help when John Rankin was on here doing a sales call. And so we are looking either next week or in 2 weeks to do another John Rankin meeting on how to close sales from new people. But I wanted to remind you of what his first piece of advice was before we have that call, because I can promise you it's going to be the first thing he asked. How many people have reached out to 10 contacts they have, friends and family, and asked for people they could reach out to? Remember, that was his homework. He said, if you reach out to 10 friends and family and ask if they have any connections that would be interested in Zero In or ROM Roast or a travel subscription, don't ask those people yourself for sales. Ask them to refer people that you can reach out to. And you can create a list of 50 to 100 new people as contacts. And so I know John Rankin was in the military. He's very, very routined. And his very first thing is, did you do the homework that I gave you all? Because I can promise you all, if you have not done the tips that he said, he will have no sympathy for you. That's his military background.
I do want to give it a couple more minutes. Like I said, we want these ambassador calls to help grow newer ambassadors. We want to highlight people who are getting new ambassadors. And you had the opportunity this past weekend to share a coupon code that was an unlimited use code for, first off, Clean Spirits, which I had to chug this morning because 4th of July fun. But we want to keep doing this. We want to highlight people like Nurse Christie, who obviously is using these codes to help grow her business, grow her community. So please understand, every week we would like to do something to highlight someone else. But if we don't grow our communities, we can't give anything fun away.
Which this semi leads me to my second point. Root Travel, as we said, is great because there's no compliance issues with Root Travel. You can talk about Root Travel and saving money on at hotel prices anywhere. There's no compliance based on that. And on that point, I wanted to give a shout out that we had about 5 new people get over 20 RPS people signed up because they were using Root Travel. So
Let's go.
If you're not taking advantage of this, Root Travel is helping. Because remember, if you get over 20 RPS people underneath you, you get $10 per
just free money.
And so we just helped. Well, Root Travel helped 5 new people get a monthly $200 bonus. And so I want to make sure all ambassadors are taking advantage of that, because it is such an easy entryway and we've seen so much success from people. And so we've loved that. So many people are benefiting from it so much.
So
Um,
if you guys start using this effectively, especially the route travel aspect, it's works out to like $30 a month, right? I'll just use the big number. If
Um,
if you have it does with the math, but you can make 15 up to, we'll say, an easy $13 a month, but you can add an extra $2 if you create your sub account for marketing. But that's a different conversation. But you can make 13 to $15 a month at a minimum because you add in daily pay just from building customers with route travel alone, which you can do anywhere in the world. And then if you teach people to share that and use that, you can make a lot real quick.
hey,
So I'm not sure why people would not take advantage of something that is so simple in a time when people need to make money. And I'm not going to say run it like a money game, but it's more lucrative than any scam that's ever been out there. And it's real.
so
And
for anyone who did not know where this was, it's been on our website for a good while. Let's go to all products. It's gonna be right here.
So the last update is about the route cruise for the growth challenge. And so we had updated all the community leaders. We had got a lot of pushback from leaders and many ambassadors who were upset about our route cruise because they wanted us to do tours visiting communities as well. And so we listened to their advice, and we are now going to do, at the end of the year, we're going to do a Europe tour. And then in September, we are doing a US tour where we are going to tour different cities and visit people in their communities. And so that was at the request of leadership. They didn't think it was fair for us to do a cruise where only 20 people would go. And so what we're going to do instead is that those who accomplished level 1, level 2, level 3, we are coming up with prizes that is the same value that they will get to. We'll reward them with that. And so we're finalizing those. We should have it next week or in 2 weeks. I already came up with the prizes. I just have to come up with the list. But on that point, if you are a US ambassador, the first week in September are the dates that we are looking to do our US tour. And if you are in a community or city where you can get over 50 people together, please reach out to Dylan or I, and we will help put on an event. We've already had 3 or 4 ambassadors reach out from the leadership, kind of platinums and above, who are planning things. But we're starting with the US, and then we're going to work with the European community next. And Clayton and Dr. Rom will be hitting up those places. But we will keep you all updated on that. Please reach out if you have questions on the cruise. If you were one of the person who had achieved it and you're upset, just talk with us. We'll promise we'll give you an answer, and I promise the rewards are still really good. But I see Nurse Christie's hand first.
Theo, message me.
I'm not gonna mention the cruise. My question is regarding the cities. With the lab being in Las Vegas now, I think that Las Vegas would be a great place to meet because there is because it's Vegas, there are so many inexpensive flights. And especially if it's during the week, Clayton knows this, but if it's during the first part of the week, rooms are cheaper also. You're going to be able to get a lot of people that can get to Vegas. I'm not saying that because
we're working on
close to me,
we're
but
working on something like the 8th of August as a little get together in Vegas. I'm working on that today, actually.
the 8th of August.
Yep. In
Okay.
Vegas.
One of the key things, though, is that if ambassadors want events in specific areas, especially if you are kind of a leader of a community, we need you all to make sure that you are bringing customers or potential customers there. I will give a shout out to Europe because the European ambassadors are amazing at this. When you all ask us to do an event and Dr. Ram shows up, there are usually hundreds of people there. And so we just want to remind US ambassadors that it needs to be similar. We need to have that get together to put on an event. If we cannot get over 50 people there, the truth is that Dylan and I will probably end up taking it because it is not as I'm trying to say this
You can't
nice.
inspire people to have less than 50
It's-
people come to an event just to hang out with you and Dylan, though. That's not fair. I see what you're doing.
I think, you know,
Well, then get over 50 people and Clayton and Dr. Om can show up.
Here, let
50
me,
is the number.
I want to share this real quick because I'm going to do, this is what, once you order route travel, so we'll do this. You can see down here, this is kind of cool. I'm like, you guys can see me while I show this, I think. So you go to the route travel. Once you order it, you get access to the portal. And then you come here, and then I need to take a trip to Cancun. So I'm going to choose Cancun, Mexico. And I got to go the 25th through the 27th. I'm going to choose done there. I'm going to find my hotel. And it's going to load here real quick. Oh, and since my wife is going to be with me, I need 5-star resorts. And we can stay at the Intercontinental for 50% off. You can see Expedia is $650. Coco, hey.
Can
Hey.
you look up Italy, Clayton? Because we've had
Oh.
people asking if it works in Europe.
Absolutely. So
Look up Venice, Italy after
it
this.
looked pretty good. So we can save $335 for the trip to the Intercontinental, which I might do. Coco, hey, come here. Knock it off. But if we wanted to go to Rome, not Rome, Georgia, for those of you that actually understand geography, but Rome, well, should we go to
Paris, Tennessee.
Paris? We could go to Paris, Tennessee. Let's
To
go
the
to-
historic center. Yeah.
And when do you want to go? No one wants to be in Rome in July. It's too freaking hot.
September 1st.
That's enough. Knock it off. September 1st.
I would July 4th, 1706.
So we'll go 1st through the 7th.
So we're getting new internet supposedly here in the office that's faster.
We've got it faster, but it's- I'm running multiple programs all simultaneously, so it's here we go. But we don't, I mean, we're talking
75%.
about route travel. So here we go. Six Senses Rome. This looks nice. We can save 37% off of that trip.
$5,000 you save.
Oh, that's not bad. Like, that makes for a pretty good trip.
All right. We are at our time too, so just let everyone know.
But this is some of the fun stuff that you can do in shopping, so you can save. Well, that's kind of cool. This is actually a really cool resort, the Villa Agrippina. I think that's where we stayed once. But you can save $1,300, off of that trip. You can go on Expedia right now and get the same booking for $5,500, or you can get it for $4,200. I mean, that one's pretty too. You save 20%. So
Before we end, I do want to just mention, Nurse Christy was the only person to reach out to me that had a winning person. She had a person who joined on July 4th on the dot. Teal, some other people did reach out to me to send some other stuff, but they just didn't qualify. As you mentioned, we want to see if you gained a new customer while we had all the deals going. So Nurse Christy, I'll get with IT and we'll get you a $50 coupon. The idea is you can use it yourself, but most likely if you're smart, you can send that $50 coupon to someone else to sign them up. So we want to keep doing stuff like this to
Thank you, DK.
encourage
Thank
people
you,
to
Dylan.
share their.
Thank you, Clayton. Sorry to cut you off. I must have had a lag. I apologize.
Good.
Oh, you're
Yep, you
fine.
just lost your coupon. Sorry.
Oh, man.
You interrupted class. That's the penalty.
No, we're happy for you, Nurse Christy. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thanks. Can I
What's
ask a
funny
quick
is people
question?
didn't even lie about getting a customer to try to win $50. I thought that was hilarious.
Last question, Nurse Christy, and then we'll end the call.
Is it possible to get Clayton to do a video like that, or to clip the video that he just did, showing how
Our
easy it
marketing team is already, Marty over here is actually already working on that. So he's creating a loom that we'll put on the page to show people how to do the checkout, and so that ambassadors can train people on that.
that's easy for us to share?
Yeah.
But you guys should do that too. You can just record it on Zoom just like this. You can do a live screen share, record it, throw it up. You can do thing on like on your device while you're on your computer and be like, yo, check this out. You could do that on the Tiki Talkie.
And then I sent a message to Duquesne. I just want to make sure you guys saw it before it gets lost.
It was
About a
probably already
suggestion.
lost.
We can look at doing that. We have sales calls scheduled for the next couple of weeks, just as a heads up, because people have been saying they're struggling with getting new customers. So that's kind of the focus. But once we're through with this month, we can look at doing some more marketing content.
Yeah, I think it was probably 2 months ago that we had a call that went over a lot of that, where we talked about how to like embed links and all that kind of stuff. So it will be time, maybe the end of July, we can look back into doing another marketing referral links and how to actually link and embed things properly. So we'll put it on the calendar, Ms. Christie.
If you know which week that was that you already went over it, would you mind
I tell
sharing
you
it?
what,
Oh, you
once
should
you've
go
had
back
12
and watch them all.
Yeah, there you go. So my
I
12
don't have
concussions, I had to
time.
do
Wish
that.
I could.
Dylan, can you message her that, and then we'll have to end the call just for time.
I
I'll-
appreciate it.
Yeah. No, seriously, yeah, I'll try to find it. I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll have to end here. We'll get to that, and like I said, we'll do another one for it too. Thank you, everyone. I do want to really reiterate, get more people on the call. We'll do some giveaways next time. But thank you, everyone.
Bye, you all.